I stood by the window of my cramped, one-bedroom apartment, staring out at the chaotic blur of New York City. The traffic below was a symphony of honks and shouts, the city pulsing with life even at that early hour. A light drizzle misted the streets, casting a sheen on the pavement that reflected the flickering neon signs of the bars and restaurants that never seemed to sleep. My name is Julian Ashford, and at 35, I feel like a relic in this city that eats dreams alive. The smell of burnt coffee wafted from the kitchen, reminding me it was only a few hours into my waking nightmare. The congealed thoughts of betrayal and anguish simmered in my mind like a pot on the verge of boiling over. I did not want to be here in this life. I wanted to be free, free of the chains that shackled me to memories of the past. The sound of my phone vibrating across the small table snapped me back to reality. It was an unsaved number. I hesitated, the weight of dread coiling in my stomach. Who could it be? Curiosity gnawed at me. I swiped the screen, and to my surprise, it was a text from Marissa. "Can we talk? It's important." My heart rate quickened. Marissa had been my closest friend, my confidant, and the one person I thought I could trust. But when she betrayed me to Alex, the man I once considered a brother, the knife of betrayal struck deep. I scoffed, feeling a bitter taste in my mouth. "Important," I murmured to myself, rolling my eyes at the audacity. Perhaps she wanted to make excuses again. I typed back, "What is it that you want?" I stared at the screen, waiting for her response. The scornful memories of the last month flooded my mind. The day I found out about Alex and Marissa being together. It was as if a grotesque play had unfolded before me, one I could not walk away from. "I can't believe you would do this, Marissa. You told me I could trust you." I hissed those words at her in the cafe, where whispers hung heavy in the air. The pain in her eyes had reflected my torment. "Julian, please let me explain." And I had simply walked away, leaving her there with the remnants of our friendship scattered like broken glass. The buzz of my phone startled me from my dark thoughts. "Can we meet?" came her reply, void of apology. I didn't want to meet her, didn't want to hear her excuses or hollow reasons. But deep down, I needed closure. I needed to confront the feelings of rage and betrayal that churned inside me. "Fine," I typed back, "but I'm not promising anything." I hit send, and a surge of frustration washed over me. With every moment I could conveniently escape this meeting, I clung to it, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy to flee forever. Hours later, I found myself at a small cafe on the corner of Broadway and West 55th Street. The scent of freshly baked pastries wafted through the air, mingling with the rich aroma of ground coffee. As I walked in, the warmth enveloped me like a soft blanket, contrasting with the chill of the rain outside. I spotted her across the room, her face half hidden by the shadows and the steam rising from her cup. The tension in my chest tightened when our eyes met. She looked different, the marks of worry etched on her face. The once vibrant girl who had filled my life with laughter now seemed frail and diminished. I approached her table, my heart pounding in my chest like a relentless drum. "I didn't think you would show," she said, her voice a mix of relief and apprehension. "I thought about it long and hard." I slid into the chair across from her, the small table feeling like a chasm between us. "So what is it you wanted to talk about?" I asked, forcing myself to maintain a steady tone, even as my emotions tangled like a thick vine around my throat. She took a breath, her fingers trembling slightly as she wrapped them around her mug. "Julian, I've been thinking a lot about what happened." "You have to understand," I interrupted her before she could continue. "Understand what exactly? That you betrayed me, that you of all people decided to sleep with Alex." My voice was sharper than I intended, echoing through the cafe, causing a couple of people to glance my way. I lowered my tone, feeling heat rise in my cheeks. "I mean really, Marissa. What were you thinking?" She recoiled slightly, hurt flashing across her features before she regained her composure. "I knew you would be angry, but I wanted to explain myself. We were both in such a bad place, and I thought—" "Thought what?" I interrupted again. "Thought you could strip away years of friendship and loyalty because it was easier to follow your heart." I leaned in, frustration igniting each word that escaped my mouth. "Alex knew how important you were to me. He knew what he was doing." She shook her head, her hair falling in front of her eyes. "You don't understand. I felt so alone after you lost your job. You distanced yourself. You shut me out, Julian. I needed someone, and Alex was there." So you went to the enemy, I spat, my fists clenching against the table. Was that how you handled it? Our friendship meant so little to you that you threw it all away in a moment of weakness. I could feel the anger radiating from me, pulsating in rhythm with my heartbeat. You were supposed to be my rock, Marissa. I thought we were in this together. I swallowed hard, my throat tight with unshed emotions. But I guess I was wrong. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I could see the tears pooling in her eyes, but I didn't care. Why should I care? I had trusted her and she had made her choice. I never wanted to hurt you. I care about you, Julian. Her voice broke, and the sight of her cracking facade made my insides twist. You don't get it, do you? I replied, softer now but still laced with bitterness. You let me down when I needed you most, and you let him take me from you. There is no going back. The sound of a chair scraping against the tiled floor made me look up. A man with a sharp suit crossed the cafe, his confident strut reminiscent of Alex. My stomach churned at the reminder. You remind me of him, I mumbled, more to myself than Marissa. She caught my gaze, her eyes widening in disbelief. You cannot possibly compare me to that jerk. I am not Alex. You might as well be, I said, venom lacing my voice. You chose him over me. I leaned back in my chair, giving her a hard glare, and took a sip of my lukewarm coffee to break the unbearable tension filling the cafe. You think that because you say you are sorry, everything will go back to normal, that my wounds will just heal because your conscience weighed heavy. Julian, no, that's not what I want. I just hoped that you would understand. Understand? What's to understand? You thought you could have both of us, didn't you? All while I was drowning. I slammed my cup down with too much force, splattering cold coffee on the table. A few customers turned to stare, their expressions mirrored shock and curiosity. I thought I was strong enough to handle everything, to still be your best friend. But then, she paused, and I could see the vulnerability cracking through her tough exterior. I messed up, okay? With that admission, her voice trembled with regret, threatening to shatter in front of me. I stared at her, battling the urge to reach out and comfort her. There was a part of me that wanted to forget this whole mess, to retreat to the days when she made me laugh until I cried, when weekends were filled with music and memory creation. But that version of us was dead, and mourning it felt like losing a friend all over again. You messed up big time, I said quietly, my hard exterior crumbling for just an instant before the wall of hurt sealed it back up. What happened next? Did you two run off into the sunset hand in hand? The bitterness in my words wrapped around me like barbed wire, and I could sense her flinch at the thought. No, it was never like that. Her voice was firm now, a spark of defiance igniting within her. It was a one-time thing, Julian, a mistake. I ended it the moment I realized how deep my emotions had run. I realized how much I value our friendship. I shook my head, the laughter having evaporated as I stared into her eyes. The damage is done, Marissa. You cannot just take it all back because you want to. I loved you as a friend. You were my support system. I don't know if we can pick up the pieces. Please, Julian, you are my best friend. It broke me to do this to you. The sincerity in her eyes was almost enough to make my heart waver. Almost. Well, that is not enough, is it? I need more than simple words. I need action, and I doubt that now that the trust is shattered. She opened her mouth to respond, but I cut her off one last time. Nothing makes sense anymore. You say you care, but your actions scream that you do not. Tears filled her eyes, and for a moment I thought she might break. Give me a chance to show you, she whispered, choking on her words. All the air seemed to leave the cafe as we stared at one another, and the silence felt heavy as time stretched infinitely between us. My heart was still racing, thoughts spiraling. There was a part of me that wanted to let her help put together the jagged edges of my broken heart, but reality clamped around the hope like a vice. No, Marissa, I cannot. Not now, not ever. The finality in my words hung in the air, thick and unbearable as the truth sank in. I stood abruptly, grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair, and headed for the door without waiting for her reply. A part of me wished that I could banish the images of her and Alex locked in a moment I would never understand, that I could forget the way their laughter haunted my ears. But I knew that consuming anger and unending resentment were the only emotions I had left, and I would keep hold of them while I figured out a way to burn it all down. As the door swung shut behind me, I felt the cold drizzle falling onto my skin, grounding me amidst the chaos. One step at a time. The boy who had been left in the flames would rise anew. The city was unforgiving, its dark corners filled with broken dreams waiting for someone to ignite the fire of revenge. And I could feel something shifting within me, something powerful and dangerous. They had no idea what was coming. The sun dipped below the skyline of New York City, casting long shadows across the buzzing streets as I stepped out of the small, dimly lit cafe on the corner of 4th and 15th. My stomach churned, not from the unremarkable coffee I had forced down earlier, but from the weight of the plan I had set in motion. It was time to confront my past. Each step I took on the cracked pavement felt heavier, each one echoing the memories that had haunted me for years. I had waited so long for this moment to make things right, not only for myself but to send a message to those who wronged me. A few blocks away, the familiar figure of my old friend Jackson appeared. I spotted him leaning against the brick wall of a rundown building, his arms crossed and a smirk plastered across his face. "Well, look what the wind blew in," he called out, his tone playful. "What are you up to, Julian? You look like you just swallowed a lemon." I smirked back, the hint of irony not lost on either of us. "You know me, always waiting for the right moment." "Right moment for what? To wallow in your own misery? Come on, spill it." I took a deep breath, the crisp autumn air filling my lungs. "I'm about to make things very right with the past, Jackson. You remember that time back in college when I lost everything because of a foolish mistake? It is time to pay those involved back." Jackson straightened up, his expression shifting to one of concern. "Wait, you are not talking about that, are you? You were doing fine until now. This is dangerous territory, my friend." I could see the worry etching lines across his forehead. "I know exactly what I am doing. I have a plan," I replied, my voice firm. "They left me for dead, Jackson. I have to do this. I need to show them that I am not a victim anymore." Jackson shook his head, eyes narrowing. "Listen, Julian, you might think this is some kind of cathartic venture, but you might end up getting hurt worse than before." I laughed drily, the sound echoing hollowly in the narrow alley. "Hurt? Trust me, I have been hurt enough. They will remember who I am, starting tonight." The streetlights began flickering on, illuminating the walls around us with a soft, golden light. It felt like a perfect backdrop for the storm that was about to hit. "You have to paint it into a picture, my friend. You cannot just jump into this without knowing your angles," Jackson cautioned. "They are ruthless. They will not hold back." I felt a surge of anger. They had no problem tearing me apart. Why should I hold back? "Because, Julian," Jackson replied, his voice steady yet laced with concern, "you can be better than them. This isn't a game. You might think you are in control, but every step you take will have consequences. Think about it." I clenched my fists, the heat rising to my cheeks. "What do you want me to do? Lay down and let them walk over me again?" "No way." Jackson sighed, shoving his hands into his pockets. His eyes searched mine as if trying to find some part of the old Julian who would walk away from this madness. "At least allow me to help," he proposed, his tone shifting. "Whether it is support or just planning this out, do not go in blind, just tell me what you want to do." I hesitated, the thought of involving someone else making my skin crawl. This was my cross to bear, my reckoning was my own. "I appreciate it, Jackson, but I need to do this alone." He stepped closer, desperation gripping his voice. "And what if something goes wrong? If you get hurt, who will be there for you then? You will be all alone in this. You cannot ignore that possibility." I wouldn't give in. "I need to face them. They may have taken everything from me, but they did not take my will to fight back. Do you understand?" Jackson's expression softened, a mix of resignation and disbelief. "Yeah, I understand, but I do not have to like it. Just be careful, all right? Promise me that." "I promise." I could feel the burgeoning sense of determination coursing through my veins, readying to take my anger and turn it into something more than just words. Jackson finally relented, his body language shifting from confrontation to support. "All right then. If you need me, I will be just around the corner. Just give me a call." "I will," I said, nodding. He stared at me for a moment longer, concern still etched on his face before he turned and walked away. Alone once more, I faced the dimly lit street. The air thickened with anticipation as I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the small device I had cleverly modified, an audio recorder. I had intended to use it to gather evidence against those who sought to undermine me. I took a moment to appreciate the gravity of the task ahead. I could see it as clearly as if it were projected on a screen in front of me. Faces twisted in malicious glee, sneering at my downfall, the laughter still ringing in my ears. I had waited long enough to confront this darkness, this sinister denial of joy, of prosperity. It was time for a reckoning. The first stop was my old university, where the seeds of my downfall had been sown. It was a chilling reminder of who I used to be, and the ghosts of my past lingered like a heavy fog as I reached the entrance. The familiar brick facade taunted me, its presence reminiscent of every sleepless night and every moment of regret. I stepped through the gates just as the golden hour slipped into twilight. I could feel the heavy weight of judgment hanging in the air, the shadows seeming to whisper my name with each step that echoed down the stone path. This is it, I thought, steeling myself as I gazed towards the lecture hall where it had all started. I paced toward the building, memories swirling around me, moments of betrayal, anger, and grief playing like uninvited guests. I could almost hear them jeering at me, but I shoved it down. As I approached, I spotted two figures outside the building, the remnants of my once close circle. There they stood, just as they always had, wrapped up in their own little world, completely unaware of the storm that was about to break over their heads. John and Samantha. My breathing quickened as I felt the adrenaline kick in, pulsating through my veins like a runaway train. "Look who it is," I heard John say, his voice dripping with disdain as he squinted at me. "The failure has returned." It stung, but I buried the feeling under my resolve. "Nice to see you too, John," I replied, forcing nonchalance into my tone. "Still playing the role of the king of the losers," Samantha chuckled, crossing her arms. "What brings you back? Lost your way to your next dead-end job?" I scoffed internally but maintained a steady gaze. "I just wanted to remind you both that you do not get to escape your past mistakes, not so easily." "Oh, please, Julian," John sneered, leaning in closer, the arrogance radiating from him. "What can you possibly do to us? You lost everything. You should have thought about that before running your mouth and ruining your own life." "It is you who does not understand the stakes here," I replied, my voice low and steady. "It is true I made mistakes and you capitalized on them, but tonight I am here to reclaim my narrative." Their expressions shifted, uncertainty flickering across their faces. They had never seen me like this. I continued, emboldened by the confusion in their eyes. "I am not here to beg for forgiveness. I won't even insult myself with that. I am here to finally show you the consequences of your actions." John opened his mouth, probably to spit out another insult, but I continued, cutting him off. "You think you have won, that I am just some faded memory to you. You have no idea what I have been doing since you kicked me to the curb." I took a step closer, adrenaline fueling my words. "You may have cast me aside, but I have put the pieces back together and I am not the same person you used to know. This is not over, this is just the beginning." A silence fell between us, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I could see John's composure cracking as confusion morphed into anger. "You think you can threaten us, Ashford? You are nothing, just a bad memory." It was time for my trump card. I pulled out the small audio recorder, allowing the light from the street lamps to catch its surface so it shone brightly in my hand. "You remember those late-night conversations back when you thought I was your friend? Let me give you a refresher of just how many lies you told. You thought I was finished, but I kept listening." It was a gamble, but I could see the fear creeping into their eyes as realization washed over them. "What are you talking about? What do you have?" Samantha stammered, her bravado crumbling. "This," I said, my voice a whisper yet laced with power. Giving them just enough time to soak in the weight of their actions, I smirked, my victory fermenting in the confined space between us. The tables had turned, the predator had become the prey. "No," John shouted, his icy facade breaking. "You wouldn't dare." "You have no idea what I am capable of," I said, my expression hardening. The air was charged with tension, heavy and electric, and I savored every second of their panic, knowing deeply how sweet this victory tasted. The night was still young, and I had only just begun. The heavy air of the dimly lit bar clung to my skin like smoke, the scent of stale beer mingling with the sharp tang of desperation. I leaned against the cool surface of the bar, feeling the rough wood beneath my fingers. The low murmur of conversation swirled around me, punctuated by the occasional laughter or clang of glass against glass. It was a perfect hideout, a place where secrets lingered in every shadow and betrayal hung in the air just like the flickering neon sign outside, casting a sickly green light over everything. My pulse quickened as I replayed the words in my mind, the conversation I had conjured in my head since the day I set this whole plot into motion. That day 5 weeks ago when I first stumbled across a lead about Matt Stenson and his empire of greed. Pictures of Stenson flashed through my mind, the way he leered confidently in his tailored suits, always thinking he was above consequences. I could picture him now, casually strolling the halls of his office, a clear conscience drowning in the money he scammed from people like me. Justice needed to be served, and I was just the person to serve it. At that moment, I heard the door to the bar swing open behind me. A gust of cool air swept through, carrying the din of the busy street outside, and I turned slightly to see who it was. My breath caught in my throat. It was Samantha, Matt's secretary. I had been waiting for her. I motioned for her to come over, my heart racing with anticipation. I had always known she was more than just a pretty face behind a desk. She had a fierceness that sparked my interest, a determination that I admired. And tonight she looked even better than I remembered, her red dress hugging her curves perfectly, a stark contrast to the dark wood around us. "Julian," she said, sliding onto the stool next to mine, her eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and intrigue. "You said you had something important to discuss." I couldn't help but grin at her casual tone, the way she leaned into the conversation, fully engaged. "You have no idea how important this is," I replied, the gravity of my plan clawing at my insides like a wild beast. "You trust me, right?" Her brows knitted together, but she nodded slowly. "Of course, you have never steered me wrong." I took a deep breath, steeling my nerves. "Then I need you to keep an open mind. What I have planned, it's not going to be easy." Samantha leaned closer, her smile fading slightly. "Are we still talking about your revenge on Matt, or have you shifted gears and started a different plan?" "I will be honest with you. Revenge is a tricky thing. It can consume you if you let it." I looked into her eyes, searching for understanding. "But this is about making things right. It's about dismantling everything he has built on lies." "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am listening. What do you need from me?" I glanced around, ensuring no one was paying attention to our conversation before I leaned in, my voice low. "I need you to help me get a meeting with Matt. In the next few days, I need to be able to sit across from him, just us." She frowned, a hint of worry shadowing her features. "You want me to set it up? That's risky, Julian. He trusts me, but if he senses even a hint of your intentions, that is precisely why you are perfect for this. He will never suspect anything. He thinks of you as loyal, and honestly, I think you are." I paused, weighing my words with care. "You have wanted him to pay for what he did to you, haven't you?" I could see a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced with resolve. "You know me too well." I tried to ignore the feeling, but every day I remember the way he belittled me, the way he threw my worth aside like I was nothing. "If this is my chance—" Her voice trailed off, and I could see her contemplating what was at stake. "I want to help, but this is dangerous, Julian. If he finds out—" "He won't find out," I interrupted gently, my voice firm but steady. "You will be an innocent participant, a player on the board until the final moments. I will do the heavy lifting. You just need to create the opportunity." I could sense the gears turning in her head, the tension palpable in the air as she weighed her options. The bar around us faded into the background, and all that remained was a shared understanding, two allies united by a common thirst for justice. "You know how to play him," I added, trying to bolster her confidence. "You know his weaknesses. We can expose him." Her fingers danced nervously over the surface of the bar, and the moment felt electric, charged with potential. "All right," she said finally, her voice steady. "But I want something in return." My heart beat faster at her words. "Name it." "When all of this is over, I want to see him go down. I want to feel like he loses everything he built on the backs of people he trampled on." "You have my word," I promised, letting the gravity of the situation settle over both of us. "Together, we will make this happen." We spent the next hour plotting, outlining every detail. We discussed where to meet, what information would be shared, and how she could subtly steer the conversation to lead him to the trap I had laid out. The adrenaline thrummed through my veins, blending with the buzz of the bar, making me feel alive. With each exchanged idea, I could almost taste the sweet satisfaction of revenge on the tip of my tongue. "I wish I could see his face when he realizes what we've done," Samantha said, her eyes shimmering with excitement and defiance. I nodded, envisioning the moment vividly in my mind. A look of shock, confusion, and desperation as he recognized that he was no longer in control. "But we have to be careful. He's unpredictable," I reminded her, knowing all too well how ruthless Matt could be when cornered. The evening dissolved into a strategic dance of whispers, drinks, and unspoken promises. Plans became stronger with each laugh, and every shared memory of indignities faced and minor victories seized. I had never felt more alive, not in the way I felt exhilarated by Samantha's presence, but in the knowledge that we were on the brink of something transformative, a chance to take a sledgehammer to the illusion of Matt's power. When I finally stood to leave, an electric energy coursed through me, and I turned to Samantha, whose hopeful expression played vividly in my mind. "Tomorrow, you will have your moment to strike." As I exited the bar, the harsh reality of the world outside hit me. The steady hum of New York City cradled me with indifference. The streets shimmered with the glow of streetlights, and the sound of sirens wailed in the distance. I felt disoriented, a mix of excitement and trepidation swirling in my gut as I fought through the crowds. With each step, I wondered if I was truly prepared for what lay ahead. As I checked my watch, I noticed it was nearly midnight. I needed to sleep, but the anticipation kept me awake. Just as I crossed into my building, I pulled out my phone and began typing a message to Samantha about the next steps. Before I could press send, my phone rang. An unknown number flashed across the screen and my instincts kicked in. "Hello," I said cautiously. "Hello, Julian." The voice on the other end sent chills racing down my spine. It was unmistakably Matt. "I have been hearing some interesting things about you." My mind raced. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say I have my ears to the ground," he replied, voice dripping with condescension. "You wouldn't believe the whispers about your little schemes. It's surprising that you think you could even touch me." My heart hammered as I struggled to keep my cool. "I think you might be mistaken. I'm just living my life like everyone else." "Sure you are," he sneered. "Just understand this, Julian. Anyone who dares to cross me vanishes. They become mere afterthoughts in my mind." The threat hung heavily in the air, choking the excitement that had fueled my plan just moments ago. "I think you are mistaken," I dared to say, my voice steady despite my fear. "Many have tried to take you down, Matt, and they have learned their lesson. You think you're any different. You think your petty grievances will bring me down." He laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "You should really watch your back." "And you should really watch your front," I retorted, my tone more confident than I felt. "Because I'm not going anywhere." The line went dead, and I was left standing there, shaking with rage and frustration. I could not show fear. Not now, not ever. I knew that I had an uphill battle ahead, but the only way out of this was through. As I exited the building, the pavement felt firm under my feet, a reminder of the reality I was still standing on. I would not let Matt's threats dissuade me. My internal compass pointed true. Tonight had only intensified my resolve. But the winding road of revenge ahead would be fraught with danger, and I steeled myself for the battles yet to come. Tomorrow was a new day. Tomorrow, Matt Stenson would face the reckoning he had long evaded. I stood in front of the looming warehouse on the edge of Brooklyn, the cold wind biting through my coat as I took a deep breath. The scent of salt and rust hung heavy in the air, mixing with a distant hint of diesel from the trucks rumbling along the nearby docks. This place had always held a sinister allure for me, the kind of secretive place where deals were made in shadows and silent sparks of vengeance ignited. Today, it felt like a chessboard of war, and all my pieces were set. A flicker of movement caught my eye, prompting my heart to race. The figure I had been waiting for, Toby Sinclair. He was the last person I wanted to see, but ironically, he was in possession of the missing piece of my revenge plan. Dressed all in black, Toby stepped out from behind a rusted corrugated wall, his face partially concealed by a hood. I could see the smirk on his lips even from a distance, a smugness that always managed to get under my skin. "Julian, fancy seeing you here," he called out, his voice dripping with feigned cheer. "Nice place you picked. Very industrial. Cut the small talk, Toby, I replied, stepping forward, trying to mask my unease. You know why I came. He laughed, the kind of laugh that sent a chill up my spine. Come on, is it really that straightforward? You're not the only one with a plan. A lot is riding on tonight. I clenched my fists at my sides. You stole everything from me, Toby. I thought we were friends. Friends. We were never friends, Julian. We were merely allies in a game of ambition, he said, his eyes narrowing. And let me remind you, I can play a much better game. The tension hung between us like a thick fog, smothering the surrounding sounds of the city. I could see the faint glow of streetlights filtering through the grime on the warehouse windows, revealing a haze of dust dancing in the air. Memories of betrayal flooded back, Toby's grinning face as he took my ideas and passed them off as his own, the moments we'd laughed together now twisted into bitter reminders. You think you're so clever, I said, taking a step closer to him, my voice low and steady. Smirking at your own deceit as if it doesn't sicken you. Why would it? Deceit is just another tool. He stepped forward, lowering his voice, his eyes locking onto mine with a predatory glint. And right now, I need you to realize something, Julian. If you want what you came for, you are going to have to play along with my little arrangement. What arrangement? I demanded, my heart racing, a battle of my instincts raging inside me. Every fiber of my being told me to back away, but I had come too far to retreat now. There's a deal happening here tonight, a shipment of goods that could charm anyone in our industry. It's got power, influence, all the things you crave for your little revenge plot. But the catch, you can't have it without me. I felt my stomach knot, grappling with the twisted reality of the situation. So you're saying that if I want to pay back the one who wronged me, I have to trust you. That's rich, Toby. His smirk widened. Trust. I wouldn't use that word. Let's call it mutual benefit. He gestured toward the entrance of the warehouse where dim light flickered. We're not stepping inside until you agree. The thought hung there, weighty and oppressive. Collaborating with Toby was like inviting venom into my veins, but the chance to seize the upper hand was tantalizing. My mind raced with worry and anger. The stakes could not be higher, but my resolve was hardening, and I wasn't about to let him walk away unscathed. I'll play your game, but don't think for a second that I ever turned my back. I locked my gaze on Toby, determination coursing through me. Let's get this over with. With a nod, he turned and walked toward the entrance, and as we slipped into the shadows of the warehouse, the weight of the world outside seemed to fall away. The interior held a different kind of energy, eerie and electric, where whispers traveled faster than sound. The dim light cast ominous shadows across the concrete floor, revealing patterns in the grime that seemed to pulse with the promise of confrontation. Just keep your mouth shut and follow my lead, Toby said, glancing back at me over his shoulder. There are a few players who will be here in a few minutes. You need to make a good impression. Impression? Or are you saying I should try to butter them up? I shot back, barely masking the sarcasm in my tone. Simply don't screw it up, he said, casting a glance at a pair of figures emerging from the darkness. They were clad in impeccable suits, crisp and polished, with an air of menace that suffocated the space. As they approached, I could hear the soft echo of their shoes against the concrete floor, a rhythmic reminder of their authority. Sinclair, one of them, a tall man with slick-back hair and a hard glare, said as he reached us. Nice to see you brought backup. I swallowed, trying to appear as calm as possible. Toby shot me a sideways glance as if to say, don't blow this, and I straightened my posture, channeling everything I'd learned about confidence and command. This is Julian Ashford, Toby introduced, his voice smooth like silk. He's going to be joining us tonight. Thought it best to let him see how the big boys play. The tall man raised an eyebrow, scrutinizing me with a calculating gaze. Julian Ashford, huh? You've been making waves lately. Some good, some not so good. Just keeping things interesting, I replied, forcing a half-smile. I could feel the shift in the atmosphere, a weighty tension that made my heart thrum in my chest, but I refused to show fear. I'm eager to see how this deal unfolds. Eager or naive? The man tilted his head, his expression not quite contemptuous but certainly assessing. Why not both? I retorted, my blood thrumming. Seems to be the theme of tonight's gathering, wouldn't you agree? He chuckled, but it was devoid of genuine amusement. We'll see how eager you are after the goods are in the air. He turned slightly, gesturing toward the other man who was now checking something on his phone with grave focus. "Keep your head on a swivel. We won't take kindly to surprises." As he spoke, the faint sound of vehicles rumbled outside, each revving engine rendering the air heavy with anticipation. I felt my stomach churn with uncertainty. Were we really ready for what was coming? "Let's get this started," Toby said suddenly, breaking my momentary reverie. "The shipment arriving any minute now." Just as he finished speaking, the sound of metal grinding echoed through the space, signaling the arrival of a large truck backing into the loading dock behind us. The headlights pierced through the darkness like accusing fingers, illuminating the terrain of our nemesis. The men around me shifted. Anxiety crackled as a group of rough-looking individuals jumped out of the truck, and in that moment I knew that the real game was about to begin. A tall and broad-shouldered man stepped forward. He had a scar running down his cheek, making him look both intimidating and dangerously charismatic. His voice boomed across the warehouse as he announced, "Load her up, boys. We have a schedule to keep." Toby exchanged a tense look with me, as if confirming that we were still both in this together. "Just stay close and do what I say," he whispered sharply. "Right, because you've done so well with honesty so far," I whispered back, fighting to keep my nerves at bay. The atmosphere shifted as the group began to work efficiently and with purpose. Crates were unloaded, their contents shrouded in mysterious tarps, and the air thickened with worry and excitement. I took a steadying breath, focusing on what was at stake. We were at the precipice of reclaiming my confounded plan for revenge. As the crates were dragged toward the back of the warehouse, Toby slipped into the shadows beside me, speaking in a low voice. "This is where you need to prove your worth. We need to keep an eye on those crates. Something's not right about this shipment." "What do you mean?" I asked, perplexed. My nerves were already stretched thin, and now the shadows of doubt began to creep in. "What are we expecting to find? I've been hearing rumors. The deeper you dig, the uglier it gets. Just play it cool." He glanced at the tall man with the scar who was now barking orders and lowered his voice even further. "We can't trust anyone tonight." I felt a mixture of dread and anticipation coil in my stomach, an unsettling reminder that revenge sometimes came with unforeseen risks. "And if things go south, then we get out. Fast," Toby replied, his expression turning grave. Another truck approached, halted, and I could see the drivers exchanging glances. I felt the weight of time pressing down like a heavy cloak, and the sense of urgency pushed me to stay sharp. The fate of my revenge danced tantalizingly close, a shimmering illusion within my reach, yet a million distractions threatened to pull me away. Suddenly, voices erupted from the loading dock, filled with anger and confusion. I turned, my heart racing as I watched the shadow of the scar-faced man point accusingly at one of the drivers, his arms flailing wildly. "This was not the agreement. You expect me to take this back. You think I would let you walk off scot-free?" I exchanged worried glances with Toby. "What is happening?" I asked under my breath, feeling the ground tremble under my feet. "I don't know," he whispered back, his brow furrowing. "But this could be trouble." With a glacial dread washing over me, I took a step forward, trying to hear the unfolding conflict. "We'll see what happens, but I assure you the shipment doesn't leave without my approval," the scar-faced man shouted louder now, anger pulsating off him. "Do you really think you can hold us back?" the other driver replied, a mixture of defiance and fear in his tone. "There's a reason we were told to expect a clean transaction. You already know what happened before. This is only escalating things further." "Then maybe I need to show you why you shouldn't cross me." Panic blared within me as the tension settled like lead in the air, the confrontation spiraling rapidly into a full-on clash of wills. I turned to Toby, whose eyes mirrored my concern. "We can't let it blow up. We need to keep it contained. Stay close." With that, he began to move through the crowd, positioning himself closer to the chaos. I followed but kept my distance, watching as the shouting escalated. Suddenly, without warning, a fist flew, striking the scar-faced man squarely in the jaw, sending him reeling backward. The moment split open before me like a fracturing dam, and chaos flooded in. "Get back," Toby yelled, propelling himself forward into the skirmish, leaving me mere inches from the fray. I could hear the cacophony, the sound of shouting, the crack of knuckles against flesh, the grinding of feet on concrete. It triggered something deep within me, a surge of adrenaline blurring the line between fear and exhilaration. "Julian, get a grip. We can't be caught up in this," Toby shouted. His focus snapped back to me just as my hand gripped the edge of a nearby crate. I felt the cool wood beneath my fingers, the splintery texture serving as a grounding force against the whirlwind. I stared at the chaos and felt the first pang of courage blossom in my chest. "I can handle this," I replied, uncertainty mingling with stubborn resolve. "Handle what exactly? A brawl? Right now isn't the time to prove anything." Toby shot back, his voice raised above the din, but the challenge stirred something primal within me. The fire for revenge blazed vividly, urging me forward. Suddenly, the scar-faced man swung again, his fist colliding with the driver's side. The world around me moved in slow motion as the driver stumbled back and the chaos intensified. Without thinking, I grabbed a crowbar that lay against the crate and muscle memory kicked in. I surged into the fray, heart hammering like a war drum. I swung the crowbar toward the chaos, aiming carefully, and accidentally caught the scar-faced man by surprise, hitting him hard on the arm. Just as soon as I registered what I had done, I felt the rush of fear and adrenaline surge through my veins. "Get off me!" he yelled, whirling around to face me as if I were a ghost in the conflict, fury igniting in his eyes. Our eyes locked, and I could see the recognition flash across his face. He, too, was gripped by the spirit of the moment, and I could sense the potential for violence creeping closer. "You think you can just jump in without knowing what you've done?" he growled. "You think there are no consequences? What are you going to do? Throw a tantrum?" I shot back, fueled by a reckless abandon. "You did this." Just then, Toby darted forward, shoving me aside as he slipped behind the scar-faced man, his eyes burning with a fear I had never seen before. "Julian, come on." He grabbed my wrist, his grip firm, pulling me back toward the shadows of the warehouse. The world around us had transformed into a whirlwind of chaos. Shouting, scuffling feet, and the sound of fists finding their mark rang out like the harshest melody. I could feel the heat of the moment wrap around me, pulling me into the adrenaline rush of survival. Yet, somewhere inside me, I recognized that I couldn't allow myself to get swallowed whole. As Toby dragged me back, I stole glances at the chaos, men fighting, crates tumbling to the floor, and shadows swirled together in a dizzying blur of chaos. In the heat of the moment, in the cacophony of shouts and aggression, all I could think about was revenge and how badly I wanted it. The fight escalated, and I could see the frantic efforts of the drivers as they tried to flee the scene, but it would take more than running to escape the consequences of this unholy mess. "What now?" I asked, breathless with confusion and exhilaration as we reached a dim corner of the warehouse, pressing against the wall to escape the frenzy. "Now we watch and wait. This will blow over soon, it always does," Toby hissed, catching his breath. "But what if it does?" What, before I could finish, a loud bang echoed through the warehouse gunfire. Every instinct within me froze and the world around us started to blur once again. "Damn it," Toby muttered, grabbing my shoulder, urgency pulsing through him. "We need to get out of here now." With adrenaline coursing through my body, I barely registered the chaos as we ducked deeper into the shadows. The distant sounds blended into an indistinguishable hum, but the tension in the air was palpable. I could feel my heart racing against the rhythm of urgency, overshadowing any doubt I had lingering in my mind. We began to edge toward the back of the warehouse, past the shifting shadows and faded memories of what was supposed to be an evening of reclaiming what I had lost. Instead, it had morphed into something darker, something more dangerous. I didn't care for alignment or loyalty now. I was riding the wave of fear, desperation, and determination, aiming to seize my small piece of vengeance, no matter the cost. "We can't let them win," I muttered, surprising even myself with the conviction behind those words. As we crept forward, I could hear the scuffle moving deeper into the warehouse, but the idea of turning back felt like surrendering my last chance at reclaiming my power. I glanced at Toby, who was scanning the area carefully while gripping the crowbar protectively. "Did you ever think it could end like this?" Toby asked, his voice wavering slightly. "What, walking through the halls of chaos?" I said, defiance mingling with fear. "No, but this isn't over." As we neared the edge of the cargo area, I felt the swelling tide of purpose. Whatever was happening could not be the end of my story. We had come too far to let it slip through our fingers now. "Remember why we came here," I whispered, steeling myself, clenching my fists, the scent of dust and sweat igniting that ember of determination within me. "Right," he nodded, tension radiating between us. "Let's make sure they remember us too." And with that, we moved into the fray once more, our eyes firmly set on that treacherous path ahead, ready to embrace whatever awaited us. Revenge was not just a whisper anymore. It was a roaring fire, and I wouldn't allow anything to extinguish it before it consumed the heart of it all. The game had indeed changed, but nothing could prepare us for the true cost of what lay ahead.